So earlier this morning, I was looking around the internet, looking at the current free agents in the NFL, and there's honestly a good amount of free agents, and I'll probably make another potential free agent signing video later. But one guy that I came across who I honestly think could maybe make sense in Green Bay is T.Y. Hilton. Right now, when we look at this Packers wide receiver situation, I think we have enough. If we don't sign anyone, I will not be opposed, but at the same time, as I've said when it comes to Julio Jones, Odell, I wouldn't be opposed if the Packers decide to come in, add more of a veteran wide receiver, just so we have one more option here that Aaron Rodgers can, really build that chemistry with, a guy he can trust, a guy who's proven that he can play in the NFL, because there is lots of uncertainty at this Packers wide receiver group, and I think that some of these guys who we don't know how they're going to play are going to end up having great seasons. But when you look at, injuries in the NFL, the uncertainty there, I think it could make sense just to have one more veteran presence here, and I think that T.Y. Hilton could be the veteran presence that the Green Bay Packers could come in and potentially sign to a somewhat cheap contract, maybe even a one-year deal. So I want to first look at what the Packers currently have at wide receiver. We have some, I'd say, somewhat more proven guys who have been here a few years. Allen Lazard. We have Sami Watkins, who's at least somewhat proven in the league, has struggled the past few years with injuries and hasn't been his former self, and there's a hope that maybe he can get there, and the Packers seem to have a plan to use Sami Watkins a lot just from the press conferences from Matt LaFleur as well as Aaron Rodgers. They have lots of high hopes for him. We, of course, have Randall Cobb here, who Rodgers clearly trusts, and hopefully he can stay healthy this year because he missed a few games last year with, I think it was a core injury. And then there's, outside of those guys, there's lots of rookies: Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Samori Toure, and then the other unproven guys like Amari Rodgers, Malik Taylor, Juwan Winfrey, and Danny Davis. So even though we have a couple of veteran presences here, I think one more could make sense just to save us from potential injuries because they do happen lots of times. So let's here look at T.Y. Hilton in his current situation, how he's played in his time in the NFL. And there's no doubt in my mind he was a monster in the NFL for a good period of time, especially his 2014 to 2017 seasons. I believe he made the Pro Bowl 4 different times in those 4 years while he was in Indianapolis, with 1,100 yards in 2015, 1,400 yards in 2016, and 966 in 2017. 1,270 in 2018. And then if you look at his past 3 seasons, they definitely haven't been productive as his prime was from 2014 to 2017. But still, if you look at his targets, 2018, 120 targets, 2019, 68 targets, 2020, 93 targets, and then last year, 37 targets, only 331 yards. So last year was T.Y. Hilton's worst year of his entire career. Partly that had to do with his neck injury that he started off with. I think he missed 5 or 6 games to start the season. And then he had a quad injury a little bit later. And so he only played in 10 games last season. So he did miss some time from injury. But I think when you have a player who has proven to be a proven talent in the NFL like a T.Y. Hilton, he did miss some time last year, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to, miss games next year. There's always a risk of injury. No matter who you are in the NFL, you could have played, 15 plus games every season your entire career, and just because that doesn't mean you won't get injured. So I think for a player like T.Y. Hilton, who is, maybe 30, 32, 33, somewhere in that range, a player who just came off a not great year, the Packers could get him for a very, very good value. Just like a player like Sami Watkins, the Packers brought in for relatively cheap. They could take another small risk on T.Y. Hilton. That way, if Sami Watkins is injured, T.Y. Hilton could fill in. If T.Y. Hilton gets injured, Sami Watkins is there. So you just have 2 veteran presences where I think, when a time like the playoffs come around, if you could have both of those guys healthy in big situations, you just have players who have done it for longer and longer. And I think that Aaron Rodgers could, build that trust with T.Y. Hilton, just like I think he will with Sami Watkins. And if we look at T.Y. Hilton's career overall, he's played in 15 plus games in 7 of his 10 seasons. He has that deep threat ability in his career. He averages 15.4 yards per reception. So I think that if he came to Green Bay, he wouldn't need to, play every single snap. If they want to make sure he stays healthy, they could switch him in there with Sami Watkins, Christian Watson. They could sort of move him in there just to have a guy that Rodgers can trust and just to, I think, protect the Packers from more injuries if it were to happen. Right now, he is a free agent. He signed last year with the Colts for a 1-year, $8 million deal. So it's possible he could go back to the Colts if he decides to. If you look at his situation last year with Carson Wentz, I definitely think Matt Ryan coming into Indianapolis is a huge upgrade for T.Y. Hilton. So maybe he says, you know what, I'll finish my time here in Indianapolis and retire only playing for the Colts. That's a possibility. He's also 300 yards away from eclipsing 10,000 yards with the Colts. But at the same time, if you're T.Y. Hilton right now looking around the NFL, there have to be some teams who would offer him some kind of contract. And if I were T.Y. Hilton, I would honestly want to sign with a contender, and I think the Packers are a perfect fit for T.Y. Hilton, who could use some more wide receiver depth. a veteran presence there who likely have a chance to, make a playoff run. I think T.Y. Hilton could see Green Bay as that option. And I think if Aaron Rodgers was his QB, it would definitely be the best QB T.Y. Hilton has ever played with. So I think it really could make sense for the Packers to come in, maybe give him a cheap, 1 year, $3-4 million deal, $2 million deal, probably $3 or $4 million, considering last year was $8 million. I think that can make lots of sense for the Green Bay Packers. And I know that, when it comes to wide receiver, the biggest names are Julio Jones and Odell Beckham Jr. because they have been dominant for a long time in the NFL. And so I think that those guys' names are a little bit more flashy, but I think a player like T.Y. Hilton could still, bring some productivity to this Packers offense, but be probably a little bit cheaper than a Julio or an Odell Beckham Jr. So this could make sense for Green Bay. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Should the Packers make this move? Should they not make this move? And let me know any other moves you think the Packers should make in the comments down below. But that is all I have for this one. If you haven't subscribed, I put out Packers content daily. I will be covering training camp that starts in just about 1 week. So stay tuned for all those videos. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.